Hi, my name is Megan Skyers. I'm a radiographer at the Bustamante Hospital for Children. I've been a radiographer for more than 5 years. Some persons will call us diagnostic imaging technicians, but I rather the name radiographer.
Why?
Because it speaks more to what you're working with, which is like radiation, so you don't have to guess. At no point you have to guess who's a radiographer, except the persons who think, of course, you work on the radio, but that is a whole different thing. In radiography, we do x-rays, which is like a unique look into the body. You can see the bones and other organs, and of course we have evolved since it has been discovered. You have CT, MRIs, and ultrasounds around now. For me, the best part about my job is that when you leave work and when you're at work, you know that you are fulfilling a cause that is much bigger than yourself. And differently, I know that every patient don't do it, but it truly means something to me when you say thank you. That's all. Just say thank you. The worst part. Well, the truth is, some diseases are incurable, and there's nothing we can do about them at this point. So, for example, what happened to me recently is that there was a patient on Ward 7. He had cancer. He was going through chemo, and he came back. And then you just check on your little friend, and you hear that he passed, and there's nothing you could have done about it. And then, apart from that emotional side, the machines that we work with, they take a lot from you. A lot. My first day that I can recall vividly in my mind. So basically, when you're rotated in the School of Radiography, anytime you enter a site, you are exposed to the different areas of the department. So my first day, I arrived at Bustamante Children's Hospital. That was probably back in 2014. So it was like you come to the x-ray because you're excited about what you have learned, so you know you want to use the machine, but it wasn't like that. You were placed first in the front office to register patients, and that's like regular from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So then we get lunch now, you're thinking that you're coming back to do x-rays. No. You don't do x-rays, you come back and you learn how to process the films. At the time, I can tell you that I didn't like it, but it let you have an appreciation for what the rest of the staff does.
At the end of the day, what was the takeaway from that day? Did you still want to do
Of course, I still wanted to do it because I didn't do any x-ray. So I was ready the next day and I was excited again to work with the children. But at the same time, when you got here, it was because Mondays are orthopedic days. So it was like on a Tuesday, you're still excited because you don't get any hands-on experience, and then you're still learning. So you're not going to get as much hands-on experience at the first go. But at the same time, what I saw when I came here was the quality of images that were being produced. So I was always motivated to look at a senior radiographer to see how they got their exposures like that, how they immobilized the baby like that. When you're working with children, for me, it's the joy, really. Some of them are sick, but at the same time, you'll just meet that one that will come and just make your day.
Was this always your career goal?
No, but somehow I was always exposed to the field. My father was a radiographer for more than 35 years, so I was always familiar with what a radiographer does and the hospital. He passed back in 2019. First he was at Cornwall. The last place he worked was Savanna-la-Mar Hospital.
Were there times when you would accompany him to work and you saw firsthand how he worked with the equipment?
Oh yes, I usually take joy in going to the hospital and working with my father, because if it's one thing I always knew about this field is that it was very demanding. and it takes away from your social life. So for me, going to the hospital is like a nice little trip with daddy when he runs his films and he points at the skulls and said this is that, and he just nod and say yes daddy. But it was always a good experience at the hospital, and I never mind being at the hospital.
What are some requirements you think that make you a good radiographer?
Alright, in regards to being a radiographer, yes, everyone will go and they'll achieve or obtain their bachelor degree in radiography. But at the same time, taking away from those skills, you need an eye for detail. That is like a technical skill that is required. But to be a good radiographer, you have to have patience, you have to have compassion, you have to have understanding, and your tolerance. Trust me, your tolerance. If you come to Bustamante Children's Hospital, I promise you won't leave the way you came. Common misconceptions, as I mentioned earlier. First one, you say, persons ask you what's your profession and you say you're a radiographer, they give you a blank look. You work on radio? And I'm like, no. X-ray, CT, MRI, and so on. And there's also a misconception that when you're pregnant as a radiographer, you cannot do x-rays. That is false. And also, another point that really gets to me, I don't think the public is aware of how harmful radiation is. And I say that because when we were in school, it was always emphasized as to radiation. There's no good dose of radiation. So if you don't need to do a procedure with radiation, so don't come and say, oh, the doctor said the finger, and you say you can just do all of the hand because all I'm hand hurt him. No, we can't do that because radiation is not good. But if the doctor sees we're fit, because you have such a thing as diagnostic efficacy, so if they sign off on it, we can do the x-ray.
You have a fear of being affected by the radiation?
No, because in our department, or even the body that governs us, you learn ALARA, which is as low as reasonable achievable, right? So there are different things. Each one of us, we're like a TLD monitor, which monitors our dose. If at any point there's a high reading, we would be rotated out of that area that would be giving us a high reading. So even the walls are lead lined. Radiation does not go through lead. And there are glasses in there that are also lined with lead, and we expose from behind those glasses. And even if we're doing a portable, the portable has a switch. Usually radiation doesn't go beyond the length of the switch, but at the same time we still wear a lead shield to protect us from any radiation that would be there.
Other than the obvious like exposure to radiation, what are some other risks associated with the job?
Well, risks associated with the job are like our people. Our people, as in we get a different array of patients that come here. So at different times you might find like a one mommy or a one daddy that might just be upset, not because of anything we did. It might just be because of the state of their child, or they were waiting for an extended period or so. So sometimes it might become a little intense. On a good orthopedic morning, just be, it's easy to do more than 50 patients. Very easy. When you have a passion for your job, you just have that drive to know that you see some cars, you get up and you do your patients. That's just me.
Do you think there is a need for more radiographers?
Of course.
Why?
I mean, when I think about it, I think us as radiographers, we are irreplaceable, for the fact that a lot of times when we hear of persons going or getting out of their jobs, they're being replaced by robots, but our job actually requires people skills. If I wasn't doing this job, I'm pretty sure I'd be doing something in the medical field as well. So as it stands right now, I'm in the middle of completing my ultrasonography course. So eventually I'll move on to doing this and sonography, but outside of that, maybe medical school. I love radiography because I love to pay attention to details. I like to know that I produce that radiograph, and at the same time, I love to perfect my craft. As in, I'll do this chest today and tomorrow, because we do have off days, It's not just a love, but I want to know that I am improving as I go along. So with like radiography, I love it because it's like a baseline. You need radiography. The doctors rely on us. They need the radiograph. So like I said, you're serving a bigger calling than yourself.